Joining me now from our bureau in Washington, D.C., Director of Litigation at the Immigration Reform Law Institute, Christopher Hajec. Christopher, the third country sanctuary, this new policy that has come out of the Trump administration, effectively says, hey, listen, if you're coming from Guatemala and you enter into Mexico, then claim sanctuary there. You're a refugee in Mexico, just as you would be if you kept traveling another 2,000 miles into the United States. It's almost a duh kind of policy.
Yes, it certainly is. And there is a humanitarian crisis at the border, but it's not because of anything ICE is doing. It's because ICE isn't doing enough, and they're not able to do enough because Congress hasn't funded them enough over many years. The vast majority of these migrants are not fleeing danger in their home countries or persecution in their home countries. They're not really eligible for asylum. What the vast majority of them are doing are putting themselves and their children and their families into danger to make this very dangerous journey to try to better themselves economically.
That's right. We know this to be a fact, right? Because if they do show up to a hearing of any kind, administrative hearing, most of them do not qualify for asylum. But of course, with this new policy, the ACLU says it's going to sue. It's going to sue.
They're certainly going to sue.
Yeah, but these ACLU attorneys are saying the rule, if upheld, would effectively eliminate asylum for those at the southern border. It's patently unlawful. Here's my question, Chris. How in the world can the ACLU sue on behalf of a non-U.S. citizen that hasn't, by the way, I mean, to make sense of their lawsuit, they're going to be suing on behalf of people that are yet to even violate our sovereignty?
Yes, they will do so, no doubt, by claiming that they have what's called organizational standing. The ACLU itself will say, oh, we have to divert resources because of this rule, so it affects us too, and that gives us standing. Oh. That is a misuse of certain Supreme Court precedent, in my view, and I think in the end the Supreme Court would reject that standing rationale.
Absolutely slimy way out. And here's the United Nations. If the United Nations is against this kind of policy, I'm all for it. Roll tape.
We believe that this interim rule excessively curtails the right to apply for asylum. We think it jeopardizes the right to protection from refoulement. It significantly raises the burden of proof on asylum seekers beyond the international legal standard. In addition, it also sharply curtails basic rights and freedoms of those who do manage to meet the burden of proof. And it's not in line with international obligations.
So in other words, this woman is saying that it's a deterrent, that this policy is a deterrent for people who are thinking about violating our sovereignty. And to that I say bravo.
Yes, we need some deterrent for people who are thinking about it who aren't real asylees, because the system's overwhelmed with bogus claims.
And there's another underpublicized move by Team Trump, and this involves the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And a lot of Americans don't know this is going on right now, but this is a headline from your website, Secretary Ben Carson to move illegal aliens out of public housing. There's a Clinton-era loophole that allows people who are not U.S. citizens, but who have violated our sovereignty, a.k.a. an illegal immigrant, to go into government Section 8 housing.
Yes, it's amazing, and that's been against the law since the 80s, but they carved out this loophole in HUD, and they're just now getting around to, Ben Carson, to his credit, is now getting rid of it. And it's important because every time that an illegal alien gets to live in public housing, some very needy American doesn't get to,
right.
And there's a great shortage of public housing, and often these American families end up on the street.
This is a great move.
So it's not a victimless policy at all.
No, it's a great move.
I'm sorry?
It's a great move. And if you couple these little moves with something as big as like E-Verify, if we can ever get E-Verify in our system and require all employers to use the E-Verify system to make sure that whoever they're hiring is a U.S. citizen, you bring all this together and you start removing the incentive of all illegal immigrants, not just from Central America, but all illegal immigrants who want to violate our sovereignty, and then illegal immigration comes to a virtual end. Chris, thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.